Today, we are going to take a deeper dive into what actually happened in Jenin this week. Yeah, stuff like that. I'm Ben, and this is the Israel Guys. Welcome to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of Jew hatred and anti-Israel propaganda, you should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. Guys, I really hope by this time you are enjoying this content enough to have clicked the subscribe button underneath the video and be getting these videos into your feed every single day of the week, Monday through Friday. But if not, don't hesitate to click that button. And also, get engaged in the conversation. Jump below, leave a comment, let us know what you think. We want to hear your voice as to all these different things that are happening in Israel on a daily basis. Let us know in the comments below. Today, I would like to talk a little bit more about the raid that was carried out in Jenin this week. The IDF, in cooperation with intelligence services inside of Israel, as well as the border police, carried out a raid inside of Jenin to capture the terrorist cell that killed the Yaniv brothers from Har Bracha that we were covering in a great deal of detail last week. Right before jumping on the show, I did a quick Google search of this raid in Jenin, and we're gonna dive into that raid here a little bit more. But before we do that, I did this Google search. I just put in, Israeli raid in Jenin to see what would come up from all the major news networks so far, to get a conglomeration of the headlines. And this is from Al Jazeera. Israeli forces kill at least 6 Palestinians in latest Jenin raid. No mention of terrorists whatsoever. CNN, 6 Palestinians, including suspected Hamas gunmen, killed in Israeli raid. Again, Palestinians killed in Israeli raid. We see who the aggressor is, obviously being slanted from these headlines. At least CNN throws the word Hamas in there, but again, no word or mention of terrorists. This is from The Guardian. At least 6 Palestinians killed in IDF raid in Jenin refugee camp. Again, no mention of terrorists. Washington Post. 6 killed in Israeli raid on Jenin as settlers attack Palestinian town again. This one is particularly despicable. Because they are conflating the attack on Hawara, which, if you haven't seen in the headlines, there's more rumors or reports this week of youth from local communities, Jewish communities, trying to break cars on Arabs' windows, again at Hawara. The reports have not been confirmed, and it's really kind of vague as to what actually happened or what's going on. And so kind of stay tuned to this channel. One of us will cover it at some point as we get more information on that. But at best, we had some hotheads from Jewish communities trying to break some windows on a few Arab cars. And the Washington Post is conflating and putting these two stories together. The story of the Israeli military arresting terrorists inside of the Arab city of Jenin, and a few Jewish youth smashing some windows in Hawara. Two completely different cities, very far apart from each other. And putting these two stories together as if it's a cause and effect relationship, making it sound as if the youth smashing some windows in Hawara is directly responsible for the Palestinians dying in Jenin, which is very gross, a very gross misrepresentation of the facts. And as the media normally do, I'm sure they put the real information in the article. I mean, I didn't read it, but more than likely they did. But it's kind of diabolical because they know that most people will not read past the headline, including me this morning. And so they know that these twisted headlines will grab people's attention. That's kind of what sticks in their mind, and then leave it at that. So this list goes on and on and on. Most of the major news networks never mention terrorists in their headlines whatsoever. And again, they probably put it in the article. They probably put it, lower down in the article, but also how many people actually read the article. So what happened to Jenin? I'm going to read from the Jerusalem Post here. Let's see. Quote, the terrorist who killed the brothers Hillel Yaniv and Yagel Yaniv on February 26 was killed Tuesday in a raid in Jenin carried out jointly by the IDF, Shin Bet, and Border Police. 6 Palestinians died in the raid, and 26 more were wounded, according to the Palestinian Health Ministry. Hiding out in Jenin, he was identified as Hamas operative. I won't say his name because we don't say the names of terrorists on this show. He was 49 years old, from the Askar refugee camp near Nablus, or Shechem as it's known in Hebrew. Blank was recently released from an Israeli jail after an 8-month prison sentence for conspiracy to plan a terrorist attack. So the IDF went in. I think they surrounded the house. They ended up getting into a firefight, and then no one knows exactly if the missile came from a helicopter or from, I believe the IDF's claiming it was from a handheld rocket launcher, but they ended up shooting some sort of grenade or small missile at the house and just blowing up the terrorists inside the house. Quick, easy way to deal with it. I'm going to play a couple of videos from that raid that I thought were interesting. Actually, you know what? Before I do that, to kind of show the state of mind that the IDF works with when they go into these raids, it's a really tough position to be in, because they know that the international community is not on their side, and anytime a civilian is injured or killed in one of these raids, they're going to deal with tremendous flack from the international community. So the IDF meticulously plans these missions to avoid civilian casualties as absolute much as possible. And as part of that planning, they actually send text messages to local residents. I don't know if it's in all of Jenin or just in the local community surrounding, local neighborhood surrounding where this raid was going to happen. But somebody sent out a screenshot of one of these texts. So this is sent by the IDF to local Palestinians. It says, "To protect your children for their own good, and for the benefit of the whole family, we ask you to prevent them from participating in confrontations." And it goes on, "Acts of violence and confrontations against our Israeli forces are prohibited." So we have this video of the military going in to Jenin. And then this one's kind of from a little bit further away, but you can see the smoke from flash grenades and probably from smoke screens to hide soldiers from a barrage of bullets coming from the house. And then this one's body cam footage of the IDF actually going in. And then you can see here there's a bulldozer operator. And, really good for him. He has bulletproof glass on this because he would not be alive right now. You can also see in these videos that some of the Palestinian terrorists shot down a military drone. You can see that falling out of the sky. And then later, you can also see these videos of them celebrating with the drone in the street. This clip was sent to me by my good friend Ben Werp, who is part of a small organization called Blessed by Israel, who ship beautiful products of small businesses and families from Israel's heartland to people all around the world. You can now buy the wonderful tastes and smells and goodness of the Promised Land directly from them. Check out the amazing extra virgin olive oil, savory spices, cosmetics, hand creams, soaps, lotions, chocolate, coffees, and much, much more. At the same time as you enjoy the goodness of the land of Israel, you're also blessing the faithful pioneers who are restoring and building Judea and Samaria. That's right, your purchases are an effective way to contribute to the strengthening of Israel. So head over to blessedbyisrael.com, that's blessed, B-U-Y, Israel.com, to buy the wonderful products of Israel's heartland and support the pioneers of Judea and Samaria. Again, that's blessed, B-U-Y, Israel, blessedbyisrael.com. The link is in the description below. So also as part of this raid, there's a clip that's going around on Twitter of an ambulance trying to go up the street in Jenin, and there's an IDF Jeep blocking the street, and the ambulance is forced to back down. And the user on Twitter says, "War crime. Israeli troops reportedly block Palestinian ambulances from reaching the wounded in Jenin today." And this is a trope that you see all of the time going around on social media of the IDF blocking ambulances or not allowing ambulances to come in when these raids are carried out in Palestinian cities. But it just so happens that there is another angle of what happened with this, and you can see an ambulance on the street here from this drone clip. You can see the flashing light of the ambulance, and look, a terrorist runs out of the ambulance. He jumps out of the ambulance and runs into a nearby house. And then you can also see more terrorists running out of a building, dressed in black, and they run and they jump in the ambulance. Yep, and then see those guys get back in, and then the ambulance takes off. Lo and behold, terrorists are using ambulances as human shields to keep the military from shooting back. And this is a problem that the IDF has been dealing with for years and years and years and years and years. I mean, this goes back for eons of terrorists using ambulances as shields to get past checkpoints, to get past roadblocks with the IDF. I mean, here's a clip from, this is also from Jenin from a couple of years ago, I believe, of a terrorist using an ambulance to block off a street and then hiding behind it to shoot back at IDF. We also saw this in Gaza over and over and over again, where terrorists would, back up an ambulance to a building, they would jump in and take off, and the IDF, even though they might know that the terrorists are using the ambulance as a shield, they can't shoot on an ambulance because of the international backlash that they would get. Why do terrorists use ambulances? Because it works. And terrorists are interested in what works and not in what is moral or humane or any of the things that normal people would think. Also in Jenin, there's this funny clip here of a terrorist shooting hanging out of a window. You can see this guy, he's being held by a friend that's inside, and he's just leaning outside of the window and just spraying bullets down the street. Spraying bullets down the street. Guys, this is the reality of what the IDF faces when they go into these Palestinian cities to carry out raids to arrest terrorists who murdered Jews, carrying out what is the moral and correct and right and just thing to do. And this is the opposition that they faced by guys who are not even quote-unquote terrorists, who are just regular quote-unquote civilians who hang out of apartment windows and shoot the IDF as they're coming down the street. And the ironic thing is this more than likely does not harm the IDF. These are professional elite units going in who are very trained very well for these missions, and are laser targeted on taking out their targets. Ironically, what this affects is normal Palestinian civilians, actual normal Palestinian civilians, because this guy is hanging out the window, can't even see where he's shooting, spraying bullets down the street. Spraying bullets down a street that's crowded with Palestinian civilians, vaguely aiming in the direction of the IDF. And this is how we get the body count of casualties that happen with these raids, that quote-unquote happen by the IDF. The body count stacks up because of these Palestinian gunmen who just spray bullets. I mean, we saw it in the clip with the guy with the hiding behind the ambulance. He's just spraying bullets down the street. Can't even see where he's firing. Cannot even see where he's firing. As always, tune out the fake news and tune into what is actually happening here in the land of Israel. We'll be back every day, Monday through Friday, with your direct connection to the land and people of Israel.